The fourth episode of Secret Invasion just came out today. This episode was jam-packed, and it had everything that you would want. It had action, it had good backstory, it had good drama, it had funny dialogue. It was a good episode. I have literally zero complaints about this episode, except for the end. I'm a little bit like, what the heck? I will put a little bit of a warning here. There is going to be a lot of spoilers in this video. If you have not seen Secret Invasion, specifically episode 4, I would not watch this video, or I would watch Secret Invasion and then come back, because we're going to be breaking it down. We're going to be talking about it, and it's going to be real fun. So let's go. I would like to start off by saying I told you guys. I told you so. I told you so. I told you about Gaia. Play the clip of me telling you about Gaia. Or maybe, maybe Gaia went into that capsule thing off screen and we just didn't see it. And she got those regeneration powers the same way, and she was just like, I'm dead. And then she's actually alive. That would make a lot of sense. What did I say? I told you that she was going to have done that weird machine thing that makes her enhanced, and we just didn't see it off screen, so she's definitely not dead. And I told ya. Obviously, this episode starts off with Gaia healing herself. It shows us how she used the machine to give herself more powers. It was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. After that, we get another flashback with Nick Fury and his wife Priscilla, or Vara. They're in Paris, and they meet at this bar, and they share poetry together, and it's really cute. And he's like, what's your favorite poem? And she has him read it, and she does the answering, and it was really cute and sweet. So their love is real. Then Priscilla in modern day, and I told you guys again, my predictions last week were spot on. Okay, they were spot on. Play the clip again. And then she gets a phone call saying, meet at this church at this time. And she's like, I want to talk to Gravik. And it's like, too bad you're going to be talking to me. And the person on the phone sounded a lot like Rhodey. I will say that. So it could be Rhodey. Could be Rhodey's scroll. Who knows? I told y'all that Rhodey was the person on the phone call, and he meets Priscilla at the church. He's like, you gotta kill him, man. You gotta kill your husband, Nick Fury. And we find out that Nick Fury tapped Priscilla's phone, so he can hear everything that's going on at that meeting between Rhodes and Priscilla. I gotta say, like, he's smart. And she's like, well, he's weak. He's an old man now. Let him just die off on his own. I don't feel like we have to kill him. Rhodey's acting a little weird. Not like how we usually see Rhodey. And I will get to that a little bit later, because it's another I told you so. Okay, we get a little snippet of Gravik saying that Gaia was the mole, that she is out, and then make it big like the Russians would. Make what big? We'll find out in 1 second. Then we get a little scene with Gaia and Talos, and she's like, what is your plan? I want to work with you now. What is your plan, daddy? And he's like, we're gonna take down the insurgency, then we're gonna go to the president of the United States, tell him about us, tell him what's been going on, give a little bit of a bargaining chip with him, and then he'll let everybody live on Earth. We just keep on contributing, we keep being model citizens, and we show them our hearts, and then eventually we could be our scroll selves. They will finally see us. He has so much love and he wants to stay there. And then she's like, you're delusional. She's like, that's not who I've become, and I can't follow you. And then she leaves. Like, are you gonna follow him? What? You can't go back to Gravik. What are you supposed to do, Gaia? Then we get probably one of the best scenes in the whole show. We get Priscilla and Nick Fury in the current day. He's like, do you want some tea? And she's like, where's your ring? And he's like, oh, I forgot to put it on. And then she's like, are you coming or going? He's like, I'm going. And then they sit down and he's like, you know what? Out of all the dumbass, reckless things that I have done in my life, you are the greatest mistake. He said that he has lost all reason to be her husband. So sad. And he said that he has ignored every single sign in his heart and in his body that screams stop, because he loves her. And even though you're planning on killing me, I don't know that if I had a chance to do it all again, if I would. And he's like, basically, I love you. They put their guns on the table, pointed at one another. He's like, tell me the story about how you chose this host body. And she chose Dr. Priscilla Davis, who had a heart defect, and they became really good friends. And then at the very end of her life, Vara told Priscilla that she wants to take over her body and wants to take over her life, and if that's okay, and if it's okay for her to fall in love. And Priscilla, the real Priscilla, said yes if you do 3 promises. 1, that you bury me in the ocean, which she did. 2, you continue being a daughter to my parents, which she has done. And 3, you never ever hurt Nick Fury. And he's like, well, we got a problem. He starts reciting the poem to her again, and it's so cute. He's like, so how's your life, or whatever the poem is. And it's just like a really touching moment, and I even got a little bit teary-eyed. And then at the very end of the poem, they were like, BAM! And you're like, who shot first? Who died? And then it shows Priscilla, and you're like, what? And then it shows the shot behind her, and then it shows Nick Fury, and he's like, I don't know if this means that we should get a divorce or if we should renew our vows. And they have this cute little moment, and he's like, you gotta protect yourself. She's like, I'm a grown-ass woman, I can protect myself, that's totally fine. And then she said, would you love me if I was my true self and not Priscilla? And he hit her with that Kanye West line.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. I feel like he would have. And then we get the second best scene in the entire episode. Probably the entire series, actually. I just like it when Nick Fury is being like a little bit like funny and like sarcastic. I don't know. It's like he is definitely playing people and everybody's like, are you being serious right now? Or are you messing with me? And he's like, I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
But I want to see more funny, sarcastic Fury in these next episodes, because Samuel L. Jackson does a great job at that, like, humorous, like, what? I got fired? What? You're a Skrull? I don't know. He's really funny. And we see a Skrull showering, and then that Skrull turns into Rhodey. And guess who told you so? I think it was like the second episode when Rhodey fires Nick Fury. I was like, I bet he's a Skrull. I do not think that Rhodey was actually Rhodey. I think that he was a Skrull, and he was like, you're fired, so that Nick Fury thinks that he's fired, but he's actually not fired. That's one theory. If it's not true, whatever. It's just like, it could happen. And he is a Skrull, and that's not the real Rhodey. So I told you. He's like, Fury, what the hell? Why are you in my apartment? Or why are you in my hotel room? And he's like, my memory serves that I shit-canned you into oblivion. And he's like, I'm just trying to be brothers and bring us back together. I brought you this yummy, yummy drink that's 25 years old, and it's liquid gold, and I just want us to squash our beef. He's like, okay, well, what if this is poison? He's like, I wouldn't poison you. And he's like, ha ha ha, and then he like doesn't drink, and he's like, hey, why are you really here? And he's like, well, there is Skrulls inside the US government. And Rhodey's like, ugh, this again. I have excellent authority that there is also a Skrull who is super close to the president. And Rhodes like, oh yeah, you know that? How close to the president? He's like, as close as you and I. And then that's kind of like the bait and switch, right? Like, oh, I'm just here to warn you. Bitch, I know you're the Skrull. He's like, I will keep my mouth shut if you give me my job back. And then Rhodes is like, how about a counter offer? And he shows him a video of him shooting Hill. And he's like, you know damn well that's not me. And he's like, oh yeah, well, what would the courts think? What will the courts think? Huh? And he's like, dang, you got me there. And he's like, that was obviously Gravik, but nobody would believe that. So, fine. You know what? Whatever. Keep my alcohol that I bought you. That was $5,000. And he's like, I will. And then he like starts drinking it and he leaves. And then we find out that there's a liquid tracking device in the alcohol. That just makes sense. It plays out. Then we get to the president landing in England. He is going to be doing like a UN conference. Then we get this funny line where he's like, did you pre-game the bilateral conference with the Russians?
Did you pre-game for our bilateral with the Russians with the half a bottle of bourbon?
And Rhodes is like, no, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he has like bourbon smell all over him because he had drank all that whiskey. Bourbon, I guess, whatever. And he's like, give me a mint. open my door. And he's like super bossy and annoying. We're like, yeah, that's not Rhodey. Rhodey has more class than that. And then Gravik shoots the president's vehicle, bombs it, and he gets overturned. And then there's like this battle scene. And that's why this episode is just like the most elite. We get cool background, we get some conflict, we get some humor, we get some like fighting scenes. So it was everything that I wanted and more. And then we find out that Gravik can like do this weird tree thing, and he can like make his arm like Groot, like stretching out, and he could grab people and squish them. The ending, that is so heartbreaking. Gravik shoots Talos, and Talos is like, I got this, it's fine, and he starts turning into a scroll. And they're like, there's an alien trying to take the president, and Nick Fury's like, he's with me! And then they're like, okay, so then they get the president out, and then he's like, I'll come back for you. And then there's a soldier that grabs Talos, and then that soldier turns into Gravik, and Gravik stabs and kills Talos. And that is the end of the episode. Nick Fury drives off, saves the president, but his best friend in the entire world is dead. And that is heartbreaking. That is so sad. I would say Talos is probably my favorite Skrull. I mean, Priscilla's awesome, but Talos is just like, he's a sweet old man trying to save his daughter and trying to save the world. And he thinks that they can live together, and he's just so hopeful. And then he dies. And I don't know how they're supposed to bounce back from this one, you know? Like, I was, like, saying, oh, there's definitely, like, Maria Hill is probably gonna come back, and she's probably not gonna be dead. But at this point, she's probably dead. She's probably gone. So, I'm gonna give up on that. But, again, if it comes back and says that she's alive at the last episode, I did tell you. But Talos, that is just, maybe they can heal him somehow, but he's probably gone too. And that is heartbreaking. What is Nick Fury gonna do with the president, I ask? He's probably gonna be like, look, bro. Wait, this is actually a really good thing that Nick Fury has the president. Because then Nick Fury can tell the president everything that has happened so far, and maybe get Gaia on board and be like, look, this is a Skrull. Rhodey is a Skrull. You probably have a lot of people that are Skrulls. Not all of them are bad, most of them are good, but there are some bad people, just like there are bad humans. And we gotta stop those bad people from taking over the governments and taking over the world. That's actually probably what's gonna happen. It's gonna be really good, so. But I just don't know how they're supposed to wrap this up with only 2 more episodes, because this was still like, it wasn't very, like, heading into a conclusion. It was still like, build. I feel like this was just a lot of build-up. We have 2 more episodes and then this is done. They either are going to rush this and it's gonna suck, or it's gonna lead into a bunch of other different TV shows and movies, which I'm really hoping for, because I just think an Avengers level battle scene with the Skrulls and the Avengers somewhere down the line is just gonna be really cool and really awesome, and I would like to see that more than them rush to like finish the season and series and make it like just like a rush job, you know what I'm saying? But I honestly have no qualms with this episode. I think it was a really good episode. It was strong. It kept me engaged the entire time, and I was like, wow, this is a good episode, and this is a good series. This is better than pretty much anything that I've seen from Marvel Phase 4, and it has given me a lot of hope for Phase 5, actually. I think maybe Phase 4 was just like, they were a little bit lost, they were losing some money, and now they're really turning things around, and so far what we've seen with Phase 5 is, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy, which was a big plus, and now we have Secret Invasion, which is also a big plus. So I'm really excited. If you have any theories, please leave them down in the comment section down below, because then we can have a cool, fun discussion. I will see you next week with episode 5. I also, if you didn't know, I post the history of a character every single week, and last week I did Bucky Barnes. And it was probably the best video I've ever made. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back, and it only got 76 views, and I don't even care, because I worked hard on that and I'm proud of it. So hopefully if you guys want to stick around, you can go ahead and subscribe. You can put on your post notifications, and I will see you next week. Bye.